Chapter 7084. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. Lu Jin appeared too quickly. I couldn't tell. If it was a normal illness, she might be able to tell in such a short time. However, this was a symptom that was difficult to tell. There was no way to tell. They finally found such an opportunity. It was such a pity that they missed it. Noticing the pity in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Bewitching said gently, "There will be another chance." That's true. However, we can't find a breakthrough on either side. Moreover, after this incident, I'm afraid that everyone will be more wary of us. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. Although what happened just now happened inside the house, such a big movement had already attracted many people's attention. In this small town, where almost everyone knew each other, the news would spread quickly. It would be much more difficult to find another opportunity like this. Bewitching was silent. Hongzhuang was telling the truth. That Lu Jin really doesn't know how to appreciate others' kindness. Look at him. Most people wouldn't even bother with him. Xiao He was indignant. She was already very unhappy with Lu Qiu's attitude. Lu Jin's attitude was even more exaggerated. They were indeed father and son. Ordinary people couldn't stand their tempers at all. It's our fault that we can't find another breakthrough. If we can find an apothecary, then we don't have to waste time on them. Xiao Bai shook its head. It understood its master's helplessness. They finally came to the border of the crossing immortal domain. However, they couldn't enter it. It was really worrying. If it really doesn't work, why don't we try to bribe someone? Xiao Bai suggested. It was too difficult to gain someone's trust. Between the two methods of coercion and bribery, the second method was more feasible. That's one way. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. However, the target of this temptation, I'm afraid we have to cast a wide net. Upon hearing this, Bewitching and the two beasts looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. When the waiter heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was going to open a shop here, he was dumbfounded. Sir, did I hear wrongly? Are you planning to open a shop here? What kind of joke was this? These were two outsiders. They had never accepted outsiders. They had only stayed here for a short period of time, but they had already been rejected by many people. Now, they even wanted to open a shop here. Wasn't this nonsense? We don't have much to do now anyway, so we've always just gone wherever we go. The scenery here is pretty good, and the living environment is very suitable. It just so happens that you don't have any alchemists here, right? I think that if we open a pill store, the business should be pretty good. The attendant, who was about to object immediately, hesitated after hearing the last part. We really don't have any alchemists here. Usually, if you want to buy pills, you have to go to a place far away, isn't that it? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. But you're outsiders. Don't tell me that you haven't had any outsiders in all these years. Bailey Hongzhuang asked. The attendant thought for a moment and said, It's not that we haven't had any outsiders in all these years, but it has been more than 10 years. It's not easy to be accepted by everyone. Chapter 7085. Hearing this, the attendant was slightly startled, but after he reacted, he couldn't help but laugh. He didn't know when he started to be considerate of these two customers. Perhaps it was because the two of them happened to give him the pills he needed, or perhaps it was because the two of them didn't have any bad intentions. After staying here for so many years, he had come into contact with some scheming people, but the feeling he had was completely different from the two of them. So, we just need to spend a little more time. Seeing the two of them in high spirits, the attendant didn't say anything else. If the two of you are really determined, I can help the two of you find a suitable shop. Then I'll have to trouble you, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Although they had made this decision, they still needed help to find a suitable place. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to find it by themselves. It's a piece of cake, leave it to me. The attendant patted his chest, indicating that there was no problem at all. The two of them were originally full of confidence. Now that they had the attendant's help, it should be easier to proceed. Although many people didn't accept them at all, for something that everyone could use, there would definitely be people who would buy it. In this way, this was already a breakthrough. The reality was just as the two of them expected. After everyone knew about Lu Qiu, the rejection of Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang became even stronger. Shopkeeper, These two guys are of unknown origin, and they are so interested in the Liu family's curse. I think these two are probably good at evil. It's best to not let them stay here. Our place has never welcomed outsiders, and these two are so strange. Why don't we work together and chase them out? You have to make a decision. Anyway, as long as you don't let them stay here, we won't let them stay. The shopkeeper's expression was very hesitant. I've already heard about this matter. Actually, the two of them didn't have bad intentions. He had already heard the whole process from the attendant. Although he felt that it was a bit strange, the two of them didn't have any bad intentions. He just didn't expect things to develop like this. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, the others all showed dissatisfaction. I say, shopkeeper, you couldn't have been bribed, right? Isn't it strange that these two people came here for no reason? Don't forget what we've always done. When Bailey Hongzhuang came downstairs, they happened to hear the crowd's conversation. Noticing their appearance, the crowd's expressions were still ugly. It was as if they didn't care about what Bailey Hongzhuang thought. Seeing this, they pretended they didn't hear anything and slowly walked out of the inn. From the looks of it, we have to find a place as soon as possible. Otherwise, the shopkeeper won't be able to withstand the pressure, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Bewitching nodded slightly. He has already gone out to help us find a place. He should be very fast. We should be able to leave in about 2 days. I hope so. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Under such circumstances, it would be difficult for the attendants to find a place for them. Master, if we really can't do it, we can just build our own house. It's not like we haven't done it before, Xiaohei suggested. Chapter 7086. The situation was much better than what Bailey Hongzhuang had expected. It didn't take long for the waiter to find a suitable house for them. I didn't expect you to be so fast. It's really unexpected. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. The waiter scratched his head. This house is related to me, so it's very convenient to rent it to you. But you can see the current situation. Everyone doesn't approve of you staying here. Even if you open this shop, I'm afraid it won't be easy. It's okay. This situation is also within our expectations. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang saw that the situation of the shop was quite difficult, they moved out of the inn. The place that the waiter found for them was not big, but it was enough for the two of them. There was a shop front in front and a house behind for living. During this process, they became more and more familiar with the waiter and learned that his name was Shin Shuxing. If you want to make a signboard, you have to go to the shop behind the town and ask someone to help make a signboard. The waiter looked at the door. Since they were going to open a shop, a signboard was naturally indispensable. Thank you. Then you go ahead. If you need any help, you can find me. I have to go back to the inn now. After the waiter introduced the situation here, he took the lead and left. Bailey Hongzhuang and Dijio also noticed that many people outside had noticed them moving here. There was a bit of sizing up in their eyes. The two closed the door directly. They were obviously not interested in finding a place outside to make a signboard. They didn't know what kind of cold treatment they would receive there. Therefore, the two took this opportunity to go back to the upper realm. Everything was fine in the upper realm. After Di Xiaofeng and the others returned, the Di family's hearts calmed down a lot. Di Beichen directly ordered someone to do the signboard and asked someone to help buy some necessary things. Only then did he go to the martial arts field. Since Xiaofeng came back, he is focused on guiding the family's disciples in cultivation. He comes to the martial arts field almost every day. Everyone likes him very much. Practicing martial arts has become the favorite thing of almost every disciple. Lin Yunqing's face was full of smiles. Seeing that her two sons were so promising, she really felt very proud. Big Brother is indeed very interested in this. I believe that with his guidance, everyone will improve very quickly. Lin Yunqing nodded slightly. I've heard about this from your father. Recently, everyone's passion for cultivation has been unprecedentedly high. Now, let alone in Emperor Cloud City, even outside, everyone knows how outstanding the children of our D family are. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang was also very happy. How's your recent progress? Lin Yunqing was also aware of Di Beichen's current plans. Even though she had only heard about it, She knew that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Not bad, I guess. Bewitching replied, we have already reached the border of the crossing immortal domain, but it will take some time to enter. It's definitely not going to be easy. It's going to take some time. Lin Yunqing's expression was gentle. Don't feel too much pressure. I heard that this is a very difficult task. Even if you can't succeed, it's nothing. Chapter 7087. Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with gentleness and pity. These two children were too outstanding, so they carried more responsibilities than others. She had always been a little distressed, but thinking about it carefully, this was actually a good thing. At least, the upper realm was no longer a world that could restrict them. When the two arrived at the battle arena, they saw a group of young disciples gathered together. Di Xiaofeng was on the battle arena, and below him, a large number of Di family disciples were standing in several square formations, looking like they were training in an orderly manner. Upon closer inspection, they could see that Xiren, Shangguan Yingying, and the others were below at this moment, in charge of the cultivators in each area. It seems that you've adapted well. Di Beichen chuckled faintly. Hearing this voice, Di Xiaofeng, who was on the high platform, immediately turned his head and saw Di Beichen at a glance. His face suddenly showed a deep joy. Why are you back? Di Xiaofeng leaped and quickly jumped down from the high platform. After seeing the familiar figure, the other disciples' faces were filled with excitement. Young master! Young madam! Di Beichen waved at everyone. Cultivate well. Almost all of the family's children, the moment they saw Di Beichen, their eyes bloomed with a strong brilliance. Now, Di Beichen was the faith in their hearts, the person they worshipped the most in the family. Even if Di Beichen rarely stayed in the family, the influence he brought was unparalleled. As long as they went out and mentioned that they were part of the Di family, they would feel proud from the bottom of their hearts. Yes. The loud response spread throughout the entire battle arena. It was just a simple sentence, but it seemed to inspire everyone present. Di Xiaofeng looked at this scene, and a deep sense of helplessness appeared in his eyes. He walked to Di Beichen's side and said, I originally thought that everyone was enthusiastic enough when I appeared, but with your appearance, it was simply like a drizzle. Don't you know Beichen's influence? He is the founder of the Dark Sacred Assembly. Bailey Yunyan chuckled. It's impossible for you to compete with Beichen in terms of influence. Alas, once upon a time, my status in the Di family was unparalleled. Forget it. When Xiren ran over, I heard that you put all your efforts into chasing after Yunyan. You didn't even spend much time in the family. Of course, your influence is undeniable. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Today, they dismissed everyone early and sat in the room to talk. It wasn't until Di Beichen explained the recent situation that everyone understood. From what you've said, this matter is indeed a little tricky. Di Xiaofeng frowned. Although he had already guessed that this matter would not be so smooth, he did not expect that even finding the entrance would be so difficult. In this kind of environment, it's not easy to be accepted. I think you'll have to prepare yourselves for a long time. We're already prepared. This time, we came back mainly to be the signboard. Di Beichen took Bailey Hongzhuang and smiled. You must have confidence in Hongzhuang's pills. Of course, we have absolute confidence in Hongzhuang. Chapter 7088. Di Xiaofeng patted Di Beichen's shoulder with a serious expression. This trip was actually related to the safety of the entire Di family. Even though he had already returned to the family, he couldn't help but worry. Beichen and the others' feelings should be even more complicated. We understand. After some small talk, Lin Yunqing and Xia Wanrong invited them to have a meal. Then the two of them returned to the chaotic immortal realm. After returning, Di Beichen directly hung up the plaque. Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Looking at this familiar name, the two of them couldn't help but think of Gong Jun. Not bad, this plaque is very impressive. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with satisfaction. The Di family was really full of talents. This kind of plaque didn't need to be custom-made in Di Yun City. The people in the family had already helped them make it. Whether it was the size or other things, it was very fitting. Immortal Treasure Pavilion? What's going on? Could it be that these two are going to open a shop? This morning, we were still talking to the shopkeeper about finding a way to drive these two guys out. I didn't expect them to open a shop here in the blink of an eye. What are they planning to do? I don't know where these two people came from. I don't know what they are planning. Everyone should be careful. Everyone's expression was very complicated. They had almost made up their minds. If these two people didn't leave, they would collectively drive them out. The next day, the door of Immortal Treasure Pavilion opened. 3 simple and generous containers were ready. There were some pills, formation stones, and runes placed in the containers. These were all things that they had made. Presumably, the most popular among them should be pills. The demand for formation stones and runes was relatively high in the outside world, but it might not be so here. Shen Xuxing came early in the morning. After noticing that the two of them had prepared everything, he was very surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and explained that they had also opened a shop before. Only then did he understand. No wonder you can prepare so well. Shen Xuxing looked at the pills in the cabinet. The names and effects of the pills were written on them. He suddenly felt envious. The medicinal pills in this container were all types of medicinal pills that they needed very much right now. Almost any cultivator who saw them could not help but feel envious. Miss Bailey, your alchemist rank is already so high? You can even refine these pills? Most of them were pills that could help Radiant Sun Realm cultivators break through to the elementary immortal realm. Although he didn't go out often, he knew how hard it was to get these pills. Even if there were many alchemists outside, the number of people who could refine medicinal pills of this grade was also not many. I've been studying alchemy for many years since I was a child. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Shen Xuxing's eyes were filled with admiration. Putting aside his background, such an identity would be highly respected no matter where he went. I'll recommend it to my friends. I've heard them talk about these pills before. It's just that outside, it's often only possible to find them in auctions or other places. It's also a matter of luck. If they know that you sell it here, they will be overjoyed. Then I'll have to trouble you. You're welcome. They still owe me a favor. For 3 days in a row, no one showed any interest in the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Chapter 7089. Say, what kind of store do you think these two have opened? I see that there's something in that container. I heard from Shen Xuxing that they sell pills here. That lady is a very powerful alchemist. Don't talk nonsense. I think that lady looks ordinary. If she's really an alchemist, why would she come here? How am I talking nonsense? Shen Xuxing told me very seriously. There are many pills that can help cultivators break through. They even have the Immortal Establishment pill that we've always needed. Even if they really do have it, it might not be true. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching leaned leisurely against the reclining chairs, listening to the discussions outside with casual expressions. Jiang Taigong was fishing, and those who were willing to take the bait would take. What they had to do now was wait. No matter how long they waited, someone would eventually take the bait. Lu Qiu looked at the open store and heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was an alchemist. His expression changed a little. There was a big gap between the status of a doctor and an alchemist. An alchemist's status was more respected. Father, that lady is not only a doctor, but also an alchemist. She might really be able to save our family. Stop daydreaming. Lu Jin reprimanded. If she really had such status and ability, who knows how many people would ask her for help on a daily basis? Would it even be your turn? Lu Qiu pursed his lips. I'm just trying to make a Hail Mary effort. Anyway, death is not a matter of time. If you talk nonsense again, do you believe that I won't tear your mouth apart? All right. I won't talk about it anymore. Lu Qiu rolled his eyes. In his heart, he still felt that the lady looked calm and peaceful. She didn't seem like a charlatan. Finally, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion welcomed its first customer. However, it was an unexpected customer. You actually have the Immortal Establishment pill here? The lady looked at the pills in the cabinet in astonishment. She came from Pingfeng City and naturally knew how precious the Immortal Establishment pill was. Even in other places, the immortal establishment pill was a treasure that people would fight over, not to mention this place where even birds wouldn't shit. However, these two seemingly ordinary fellows were able to take out the immortal establishment pill right off the bat. This was simply too unbelievable. Yao Yao, I think this immortal establishment pill is definitely fake. Why are you taking it to heart? The man at the side couldn't help but say, let's leave this place. If others see this, we might even be ostracized. Ning Yao Yao impatiently glanced at the man. Look at your useless appearance. I think that Lu Qiu is stronger than you. Lu Qiu was defeated by me. Then stop talking nonsense. Ning Yao Yao looked towards Bailey Hongzhuang. I say, is this pill real? Since I'm opening my store, I'll naturally be honest. If there's any problem with the pills, feel free to look for me. Hearing this, Ning Yao Yao couldn't help but glance at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were very confident, and it was clear that what he said was true. Alright, then I'll buy an immortal establishment pill. When she thought of Bewitching's grace at the elementary immortal stage, she hoped that she could break through to the elementary immortal stage as soon as possible. This way, as long as they had the chance to meet again in the future, the distance between them would be closer. She vaguely felt that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang might have already gone to the immortal region, and it would be impossible for her to meet Bewitching if she stayed in the immortal region of chaos. Chapter 70-90. Looking at the prices on the shelves, Ning Yao Yao couldn't help but feel the pinch. Such a price was simply devastating. I'm being honest. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't explain. Since she was doing business, she naturally wouldn't make a loss. If this immortal establishment pill was in the outside world, it would only appear in an auction, and the price would definitely be higher than the listed price. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's unfriendly attitude, the man was a little dissatisfied, but Ning Yao Yao felt that this was the right attitude. Okay, I'll buy one immortal establishment pill. Bailey Hongzhuang took the Chenkuan bag and checked the blood spirit stones inside before taking out the pill. Yao Yao, I advise you to reconsider. If you buy it at such a high price and it doesn't have any use, wouldn't it be a waste? They're outsiders. As long as they want to leave, wouldn't it be easy? The man's face was full of doubt. Such a price made even his heart ache. Then help me keep an eye on them. Ning Yao Yao picked up the pill and walked out without saying anything. Did you hear me? I'll go back and test the effects of this pill. During this time, keep an eye on them and don't let them run away. Hearing this, the man nodded awkwardly. Okay. 2 days later, when Ning Yao Yao appeared again, the man quickly went up to her. Yao Yao, do you want to catch these two guys immediately? The man's expression was serious. Everyone wants to chase them away. Once we find out that they're selling fake pills, they'll have to leave their lives here. What nonsense are you talking about? Ning Yao Yao looked unhappy. Well, what's wrong? They're not selling fake pills, they're real. Ning Yao Yao couldn't help but look up at the immortal treasure pavilion with amazement in her eyes. At first, she was also skeptical. However, after trying it out, she understood that this medicinal pill was real. However, this made her even more regretful. Such a precious pill should be taken at a more suitable time. She didn't even feel that she was about to break through the barrier. She was just trying it as a last resort. After all, she didn't even have the qualifications to compete for this kind of pill in the outside world. What did you say? The man was also dumbfounded. This pill is real? Do you think I would lie to you? Ning Yao Yao rolled her eyes. It's a pity that my cultivation wasn't high enough and I couldn't successfully break through. However, the man simply couldn't hear what Ning Yao Yao had to say. All he could think about was that the immortal establishment pill was real. Yao Yao, you stay here for a while. I'm going home. After exhorting a few words, the man rushed back home without stopping. Ning Yao Yao looked in the direction the man left in puzzlement. She was too lazy to pay attention to him and went straight back to the inn. Immortal Treasure Pavilion welcomed its second guest. Bailey Hongzhuang recognized at a glance that this was the man who was with Ning Yao Yao. Noticing his behavior, she understood in her heart. I want to buy one immortal establishment pill. The man kept calculating in his heart. No, I want two. Bailey Hongzhuang took out 2 pills and looked at the blood spirit stone the man brought over. She couldn't help but frown. "Sir, I'm afraid there's something wrong with your calculations." The man's expression was a little awkward. "I want to discuss it with you." "This shop doesn't accept credit." Beichen's voice slowly rang out. Chapter 7091. You can take it out and have a look. The man hesitantly took out a black stone and handed it to Beichen. "This is it. I'll give you a certain amount of this in exchange." Beichen looked at the stone in his hand, and his expression changed slightly. Sure enough, the devouring spirit stone had appeared. They thought it would take a little longer to see the devouring spirit stone, but it was much faster than they expected. Seeing Beichen's calm expression, the man couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Don't underestimate this stone. This is a devouring spirit stone. It can help cultivators improve their mental strength. This thing's value can only be higher than the blood spirit stone. "Let me see." Beichen carefully looked at the stone for a moment, then said, "Okay." Hearing this, the man breathed a sigh of relief. After taking out a portion of the devouring spirit stone, he put the 2 pills into his bag. Before leaving, he whispered, "Don't tell anyone about this, especially about the devouring spirit stone. Otherwise, not only me, but you will also be in trouble. Don't take it lightly. This is really serious." "Got it." After the man left, Beichen put away the devouring spirit stone. It's probably very difficult to not let others know. He glanced outside from the corner of his eyes. He noticed that after this man came in, there were already people outside who had noticed this scene. The news of the devouring spirit stone may be kept a secret, but the news of buying pills should spread quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. The more familiar a place was, the faster the news would spread. "Did you hear? Su Yu went to the Immortal Treasure Pavilion to buy pills. I heard that the first person to buy was Ning Yao Yao, and then Su Yu also went. Doesn't this mean that the pills sold here are very likely to be real? I wonder what kind of pills are sold here?" Everyone was a little curious, but they looked at each other. No one went in first, and their minds were full of doubts. "Shopkeeper, there are immortal establishment pills in the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, as well as many pills that can help increase one's cultivation. Now that everyone is a little tempted, who knows when they will go in? I think that Su Yu must have bought a lot of things inside. Don't miss it." Shen Shuxing looked at the shopkeeper who was a little tempted and reminded him. The shopkeeper looked at Shen Shuxing helplessly. "I think you trust them completely now. You even came to me as a lobbyist." "Shopkeeper, it's because we've known each other for so many years that I don't want you to miss out on something good. You're accusing me wrongly." "That's true, but haven't you noticed that everyone is starting to ostracize Su Yu? At a time like this, it's best if you don't show yourself. Otherwise, you'll inevitably get into trouble." The shopkeeper sighed. In fact, he did not have any prejudice against these 2 people, especially after seeing that Shen Shuxing's hidden illness had been cured. He no longer rejected them. "Shopkeeper, don't worry. Don't worry about me." Shen Shuxing waved his hand nonchalantly. "I'm friends with them." "All right then, I'll support you. How about you buy me a immortal establishment pill?" "Okay." Chapter 7092. Thank you so much for your help. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were gentle. "You're welcome. I didn't really help much. It's mainly because you guys are amazing." Shen Shuxing smiled. "I believe that after the shopkeeper uses this immortal establishment pill, you'll find out what you've been looking for." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes brightened. His words revealed a lot of information. "The shopkeeper's transformation is all thanks to you." Beichen's expression was serious. Originally, they just made a deal with Shen Shuxing. They hadn't expected that they'd become friends. However, such a change was also worth celebrating. Lu Qiu was even more moved after hearing this news. When he saw Shen Shuxing walk out of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, he hurried over to greet him. "Shuxing, don't you want to buy anything here?" Shen Shuxing didn't deny it. "Qiu, my old illness has been cured. It's all thanks to Miss Bailey. When I called you over, although it was more for the pills I needed, I didn't want to harm you. Although I haven't seen her medical skills, Her alchemy skills are really outstanding. Seeing Shen Shuxing's serious expression, Lu Qiu nodded slightly. I know. Are you really not going to consider giving it another try? Shen Shuxing's brows furrowed with worry. Your family's situation. If there's hope, I think you should give it a try. The two of them had known each other for many years. Although they weren't brothers, they were good friends. He didn't want Lu Qiu to disappear from the world like his family. Lu Qiu's eyes dimmed for a moment, then he laughed heartily and said, I want to, but my father is watching me so closely now. Not to mention going in, even if I pass by in front, I may be taught a lesson. When I find a chance, I'll give it a try. Shen Shuxing nodded. Don't wait too long. He knew that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang had come here mainly for the spirit-devouring stone. If they didn't find any clues after staying here for a while, they probably wouldn't stay here for long. Don't worry, I won't die so easily. Lu Qiu chuckled, but his eyes unconsciously darkened. All the cultivators in the town seemed to maintain a mysterious tacit understanding. Although everyone wanted to enter the Immortal Treasure Pavilion from the bottom of their hearts, no one took the lead. Under such circumstances, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion was quiet for a long time. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching spent all their time cultivating, thanks to the many fruits they brought from the Immortal Treasure Realm. However, after reaching the elementary immortal stage, the breakthrough would become even more difficult. The time it would take to accumulate would definitely be much longer. In fact, the two of them didn't even know what kind of cultivation level they would reach in the future. They would only know all of this after entering the immortal realm. Calm. However, the two of them, who were living a very leisurely life here, did not know that not long after they left, Shiyun City had also caused quite a commotion. A group of people suddenly entered Shiyun City. They were all very powerful, attracting the attention of the entire city. Chapter 7093. Just as everyone was panicking, that group of people suddenly disappeared, as if they had never been there in the first place. Only then did all the cultivators in Cloud City breathe a sigh of relief. However, during this process, very few people noticed that the shopkeeper of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, Gong Jun, had disappeared as well. Almost everyone in the town was waiting for the day when Bailey Hongzhuang and Su Xian would lose their cool. However, the situation was completely different from what they had expected. The two of them had no intention of losing their cool at all. Even if no one went in to buy the elixirs, they were not anxious at all. They rarely went out, and the only person they communicated with was Shen Shuxing from the inn. At this point, everyone already knew that Shen Shuxing had recovered from his old injury. Perhaps it was because he was the only person who had a relationship with the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, so everyone did not target him too much. They hoped to hear some relevant news from him. The peaceful life was broken by a shocking aura. After the entire town sensed that shocking aura, they all ran out of their houses. This is the aura of breaking through to the elementary immortal stage. Looking at the direction of the aura, it seems to be coming from Su Shen's house. Su Shen broke through? That's impossible. Everyone was dumbfounded. Among them, there were countless cultivators in the Brilliant Sun realm, but a cultivator who had truly broken through to the elementary immortal stage was rarely seen even in the history of their town. This was because they knew too well that once a cultivator broke through to the elementary immortal stage, their status would change completely. All of them would no longer be on the same level as Su Shen. Su Shen had completely crushed all of them. Everyone could not help but feel envious. Such a breakthrough was the dream of every cultivator. That's not right. I clearly heard Su Shen say that it was too difficult to break through, and there was almost no hope. How did he suddenly break through? Everyone looked at each other. They lived together all day and were very clear about everyone's situation. Su Shen's sudden breakthrough could not have been possible without an opportunity. I remember that Su Sheng's son went to the Immortal Treasure Pavilion to buy elixirs, right? I heard that they have the Immortal Establishment Pill. It was unknown who suddenly mentioned this, but the expressions of everyone present suddenly became very strange. I've already heard that it's true. If it's true, then Su Shen's breakthrough must have something to do with this pill. That old fellow is really unkind. He didn't even tell us about such a good thing and secretly went there himself. In an instant, everyone couldn't help but slap their thighs in regret. It wasn't until this moment that they finally understood. Regardless of whether these two people were outsiders or not, the fact that they possessed such pills was the most important piece of information. That was because only when one's strength increased, that would be the source of change. At this moment, everyone looked at the immortal treasure pavilion with burning eyes. A series of hurried footsteps could be heard. Xiao He quickly ran into the courtyard. "Master, there are many people in the shop. Come quickly." The two of them walked over unhurriedly. From the moment they sensed the aura of the breakthrough, such a scene was already within their expectations. Chapter 7094. The Immortal Establishment Pill was the best pill for Radiant Sun Stage cultivators to break through to the elementary immortal stage. There was naturally a reason why it was so highly regarded. This person could use the Immortal Establishment Pill to break through, which showed that his own strength was not bad. All the rejection and dissatisfaction could not resist the temptation of the elementary immortal stage. At this moment, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion was no longer a target of exclusion in the eyes of the crowd, but a good place for them to compete for medicine. "Shopkeeper, I want to buy an Immortal Establishment Pill." "Shopkeeper, I want to buy it too. Here are blood spirit stones. Give it to me first." Looking at the crowd in front of them, the usual disdain and contempt had long disappeared, replaced by warmth and closeness. Everyone seemed to have forgotten their previous disagreements and tried their best to use smiling faces to get closer to each other. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice slowly rang out, "There's only one Immortal Establishment Pill left." These words were like a heavy bomb that exploded in everyone's hearts. Everyone looked at her in disbelief, as if they had heard the most unbelievable thing. "How could that be? Shopkeeper, you can't be thinking of raising the price, right? The people who came to buy it before all bought it very smoothly. Could it be that you saw that we came together, so you want to raise the price?" Everyone looked suspicious. In this kind of situation, raising the price was very normal. How could a pill like the Immortal Establishment Pill be so easy to obtain? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent. Not to mention the difficulty of refining the pill, just gathering the immortal spirit herbs to refine the Immortal Establishment Pill is not easy. I originally had a total of 5 Immortal Establishment Pills, but now I've sold 4. There's only one left. Hearing this, the crowd finally understood. Indeed, the Immortal Establishment Pill was a treasure that could only be encountered by chance and not sought after by Radiant Sun Stage cultivators. 5 Immortal Establishment Pills. From a normal point of view, this was already very heaven-defying. Sold 5 pills? You should have only sold 2 of them. Everyone could not help but be puzzled. Ning Yaoyao and Su, you were only 2 people. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Di Beichen's voice rang out. Everyone looked at each other, their expressions becoming very ugly. They thought that everyone was abiding by the agreement like them, but they did not expect that someone had already secretly bought it. "Sell this last one to me. I'll increase the price. Sell the last one to me. I'll pay double." The people in the small town seemed to have gone crazy, madly increasing the price. If they missed this opportunity, perhaps they would never be able to see a second Immortal Establishment Pill in their lifetime. In such a situation, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were not in a hurry. They simply allowed everyone to raise the price. The highest bidder would win. This was a principle that worked no matter the time. Lu Qiu looked at his father with a helpless expression on his face. "Father, I think you're just a stubborn old man. With Bailey Hongzhuang's ability, she might really be able to cure me. At that time, not only me, but my entire family will be spared." Lu Jin's expression was still cold and hard. "Don't mess around with everyone else. It would be strange if these 2 people stayed here despite having such means. Why do you care if they have ulterior motives? It's fine as long as we can keep our lives." Chapter 7095. If you can get the Immortal Establishment Pill, you'll definitely be able to break through. Lu Qiu looked at Lu Jin excitedly. An expert in the elementary celestial stage would definitely raise his family's status. However, no matter what he said, Lu Jin remained unmoved. In the end, Lu Qiu could only give up Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Finally, the Immortal Establishment Pill was sold for 5 times the price. Although the cultivator who won the bid couldn't help but feel heartache, his mood improved a lot when he saw the size of the people around him. As long as he could break through to the elementary celestial stage, all of this was nothing. The people in this town are really rich. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. The bidding just now was quite a big scene. Although the price of her Immortal Establishment Pill wasn't high, it was still the normal price. Most ordinary cultivators could only look at such a price and sigh. However, almost everyone in this town had the power to compete. The difference between them could be seen. He didn't pay immediately, right? Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly. It seems that we'll be able to see another guy with a spirit-devouring stone. The other party didn't pay immediately. Instead, he said that he would go home and get it before coming back. If he wasn't wrong, his response should be the same as Su Yu's. For the people in this town, there might be more spirit-devouring stones than blood spirit stones. If we can follow this lead to get information, it'll be great. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. They hadn't found a breakthrough yet. This guy might be another possibility. Thinking about it carefully, they had been in this town for almost a month. However, they didn't see any movement from the others, let alone any interaction with the crossing celestial domain. It could be seen that these people were very secretive. If they couldn't find a breakthrough, they wouldn't be able to find anything just by observing. In the inn, the shopkeeper looked at the Immortal Establishment Pill in his hand and couldn't help but feel lucky. Su Xing, if you hadn't helped me buy this Immortal Establishment Pill earlier, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to buy it today. Shen Su Xing was a little surprised. He didn't expect everyone to be so crazy. I heard that the price has increased by 5 times today. But in the outside world, I think it's still worth it. The shopkeeper nodded slightly. You're right. Those two are capable people. Noticing that the shopkeeper's attitude towards Di Beichen had softened a lot, Shen Xuxing asked tentatively, Shopkeeper, what about the deal they mentioned before? Let me think about it. Perhaps I can believe you. Hearing this, a hint of joy appeared in Shen Xuxing's eyes. That's great. I didn't expect you to help them so much even though you haven't known them for long. Actually, I just don't think they're bad people. Shen Xuxing smiled faintly, a trace of contemplation in the depths of his eyes. Vaguely, he had a feeling that Di Beichen and Yang Kai had come here for more than just the devouring spirit stones. As for what they were here for, he couldn't figure it out. However, he was certain that these two people did not have any ill intentions, so he did not want to speculate too much. At night, the cultivator who bought the pills came. Let me introduce myself. I'm Duan Qin. So it's young Master Duan. Chapter 7096. Young Master Duan, could it be that you want to use something else as collateral? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Duan Chen was slightly startled, then nodded. You're really smart, but I wonder if this will work? If I say no, will young Master Duan return the elixir? Duan Chen's expression suddenly became very nervous. I'm just joking, Di Beichen smiled faintly. But we'll have to see what you want to use as collateral. If it's a spirit-devouring stone, then it's fine, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly said. Spirit-devouring stone? Duan Chen was startled. How do you know about the spirit-devouring stone? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The Immortal Establishment elixir is indeed expensive, but other elixirs are also extremely valuable. Although many people in the town still have misunderstandings about us, there are also friends who accept us. Isn't the spirit-devouring stone the most unique thing in town? Duan Chen was dumbfounded. After returning, he had thought for a long time before deciding to use the spirit-devouring stone instead of the blood spirit stone. Because their town was really far from the outside world, it was more troublesome to exchange the blood spirit stone every time. The appearance of Di Beichen, Duan Chen, and Ning Yaoyao had caused them to not dare to make any transactions recently. They were running low on blood spirit stones, so they came up with this idea. He felt that as long as he concealed it and came up with another reason, Bewitching and Duan would not think too much about it. However, looking at the two of them, it was obvious that they already knew about it. I see. Duan expression was slightly complicated, but it soon became clear again. In that case, I've always been too narrow-minded. It turns out that the two of you already knew about it, but this news can't be told to anyone else. Young Master Duan, don't worry. We know how serious this matter is. If we didn't know that you're from town, we wouldn't have told you. We only brought it up because we don't want you to feel burdened. Duan nodded slightly. You're right. In that case, I won't hide it from you. I do want to exchange the spirit-devouring stone. This is a spirit-devouring stone. Its value is also determined by its value in the outside world. Bewitching took the devouring spirit stone and glanced at it. He already had an idea. Young Master Duan, I have a question. If you can answer me, I don't mind giving you this immortal establishment pill. Duan Zhang's eyes lit up, and then he said with some fear, I wonder what young Master D wants to ask? If it's something that shouldn't be asked, I'm afraid I won't be able to answer. I shouldn't have asked this question, but I still want to ask. The two of them stared at each other for a long time before Duan said, You can tell us. These spirit-devouring stones were really expensive. Even if it was him, after taking them out, he would become very poor for a period of time. If he could really take it back, it would undoubtedly be for the best. How can I enter the crossing immortal domain? As soon as these words were spoken, Duan was instantly shocked, and he hurriedly glanced at the surroundings before he said, Young Master D, have you gone mad? This is a big taboo. Bewitching was not in a hurry. He had already set up a barrier outside, and no one could hear the conversation inside. Even Su Shen, who had just broken through to the elementary immortal stage, could not. Chapter 7097. I'm sorry, I can't answer your question. Duan quickly stood up. He did not want to say anything else and hurriedly walked out. Young Master Duan, I don't intend to pry into the town's secrets. I have my reasons for asking this, Bewitching said slowly. Duan footsteps paused slightly. Young Master Duan, I hope you can keep tonight's matter a secret, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Duan stopped walking and looked at the two people behind him with a puzzled expression. Reasons for your reasons? I can see that the two of you are not ordinary people, especially the ability to refine the immortal establishment pill. You must be famous in the chaotic immortal realm. What's your purpose for coming here? Duan expression became solemn. If the two of them really wanted to dig out everything here, they would definitely die. Young Master Duan, can you take a seat first? Duan slowly walked back and sat down. His expression was not as friendly as before. Please tell me. To tell you the truth, when we first ascended, we were captured and sent to mine. If it weren't for our good luck, we would have lost our lives by now. So, we're not unfamiliar with the spirit-devouring stone. You were captured to mine? Duan was in disbelief. Impossible, almost no one came out alive from the spirit-devouring stone. If you really had such an experience, you wouldn't be like this now. In the next moment, Bewitching took out a shovel. Young Master Duan, do you recognize this? Duan looked at the shovel in front of him. His eyes suddenly froze. He instinctively took the shovel and studied it carefully. His expression became very strange. You really stayed in the spirit-devouring stone? Yes. It's unbelievable that the people in the spirit-devouring stone escaped. It was a riot. They won't let you go easily. That's because an expert saved us. The hostility in Duan eyes softened a little. However, it was not completely gone. Since you've already escaped, why did you come back now? We still have family members in there, Bewitching said. Duan immediately understood. You want to save your family members? Yes. At this moment, Duan Zhedong understood. No wonder these two people would appear here and even sell the immortal establishment pills like this. It turned out that they were looking for a way to enter the immortal domain. Let me give the two of you a word of advice. Whether you live or die is up to fate. You were able to escape because of your great fortune. You are not fated to die. Since the others couldn't come out, they naturally had their own destinies. All these years, the entrance to the crossing immortal domain has been sealed. It's almost impossible for you to enter. Moreover, once you enter, it's even more impossible for you to come out. We just want to know if there's a way in. There's no other way. Duan Qin shook his head. If young Master Duan has any news, you can inform me at any time. I won't mistreat you. Bewitching did not say anything else. It was already good enough that Duan Zhang could say this much. It would be strange if he told them tonight. Standing in front of the door, Duan Qin said, I won't tell anyone about what happened tonight, but I advise the two of you not to tell anyone else. Thanks for the reminder. Chapter 7098. Even though Duan Qin did not reveal much information to them, his reaction had already told them a lot. The town was indeed connected to the crossing immortal domain, and this connection had been secretly going on ever since the crossing immortal domain was closed. However, it should only involve the trade of spirit-devouring stones. It was impossible to get the people inside to come out. Master, as long as they can trade for spirit-devouring stones, we can go in. Even if it was just a small hole, it and Xiaobai could shrink and bring their master and the others in. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I've already found out some things tonight. This Duan Qin doesn't seem to be a scheming person. Compared to Lu Jin, who was difficult to approach, Duan Qin was undoubtedly much better. Maybe we can try to start with him? Xiaobai asked. Duan Qin probably doesn't know much. Bewitching's voice rang out. Why? If he knew, his expression wouldn't be like this. I'm guessing that although this town is doing business related to spirit-devouring stones, not everyone has access to the core. I think the shopkeeper should know more than Duan Qin. Coincidentally, Xin Xuxing brought good news today. He said that the shopkeeper has already considered doing business with us. That's great. Ever since the immortal establishment pills were sold out, the people in the town no longer rejected Bewitching and Xiaobai. After all, they had already been in before. If they acted like that again, it would be embarrassing. Under such circumstances, other medicinal pills also became very popular. Of course, there were also people who asked Bailey Hongzhuang to refine pills for them. As long as the price was right, Bailey Hongzhuang would not refuse. The moon was high in the sky, and the cool breeze was like water. Bailey Hongzhuang was resting in the house when she suddenly heard a hurried voice from outside. Miss Bailey, are you there? Xin Xianglin is dying. Please take a look at him. What's wrong? Xin Xianglin suddenly fainted. Dr. Yang has already seen him and said that he can't be cured. We can only ask Miss Bailey if there's a way to cure him. Hearing this, everyone also understood. They only had one doctor here, and that was Dr. Yang. Usually, if Dr. Yang said that he couldn't cure it, then everyone was at their wits' end. The only way was to run outside. However, in the past, when such a situation occurred, even if he ran outside, it was mostly useless. Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the house and saw Xin Xuxing and the shopkeeper carrying a person. The person's face was pale and he was unconscious. Su Xing, what's going on? Xin Xuxing shook his head. We don't know. He was fine at first, but he suddenly fainted. Bring it in first. Let me have a look. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand, and Xin Xuxing and the shopkeeper quickly carried Xin Xianglin inside. Although the others wanted to follow him in, they were stopped by Bewitching. Seeing a doctor requires a quiet environment. I hope everyone can wait outside. Seeing this, although everyone was filled with curiosity, they still stopped walking and stood outside to watch. Miss Bailey, please save my son. The shopkeeper's eyes were red. He only had one son. If something happened to him, he would really... Chapter 7099. Shopkeeper, don't worry. I'll do my best. Bailey Hongzhuang hid the surprise in her eyes. She didn't expect that the person who fainted would be the shopkeeper's son. However, this was a good opportunity for them. The shopkeeper nodded repeatedly and stepped aside. He didn't dare to disturb them. His face was still red and full of nervousness. With their physique, ordinary diseases wouldn't cause any trouble for them at all. Such a situation meant that it wasn't simple. They all knew about Dr. Yang's strength. Even in the outside world, his medical skills were very strong. In fact, when Dr. Yang said that there was no cure, his heart had already turned cold. Shen Xuxing reminded him to come here and give it a try. He had a glimmer of hope just now, but he also understood that this hope was too slim. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully checked Shen Xianglin's pulse. Suddenly, her expression became very strange. "Miss Bailey, can he be saved?" Shen Xuxing looked nervously at Bailey Hongzhuang. His face was full of worry. "Do you know that he's poisoned?" "You know." Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned. She knew that Shen Xianglin was poisoned as soon as she took his pulse. It was obvious that someone had poisoned him. The shopkeeper nodded. "Sometimes things like this happen here. It's just that we don't know who did it. Does your town have such a history?" Bailey Hongzhuang was a little startled. Weren't the people in this town very familiar with each other? That appearance of a common enemy made them look like a family. She didn't expect such a thing to happen. Indeed, the shopkeeper was a little helpless. "It happened in our town before, but we couldn't find out who did it. Every time this happens, people usually lose their lives." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other. It seemed that the water in this town was very deep. Whether it was Shen Xianglin's poisoning or Lu Qiu's family's curse, these things seemed to have some kind of connection. "Miss Bailey, can you save him?" Facing their earnest gazes, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "Don't worry, he will wake up tomorrow." The shopkeeper was stunned. Then he grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang tightly. "Is what you said true? Can you cure him?" "That's right." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The two of them looked at each other and hugged each other excitedly. "Shopkeeper, I told you that Miss Bailey would have a way. Don't worry, Xianglin will be fine." "Miss Bailey, thank you. I will never forget your kindness." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and waved her hand. "Shopkeeper, you don't have to do this. I'll do my best." The poison in Shen Xianglin's body was not simple. It would not be easy for an ordinary doctor to detoxify it. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang had always been very knowledgeable in this area, so she only needed to spend some time to detoxify this kind of poison. However, she was even more curious about who had poisoned Shen Xianglin. The next morning, Shen Xianglin slowly woke up. Water, water. The shopkeeper didn't sleep for the entire night. When he noticed Shen Xianglin's movements, his face was overflowing with excitement. "I'll get you some water." Chapter 7100. After drinking a glass of water, Shen Xianglin gradually regained consciousness. "What happened to me before this?" The shopkeeper's face was solemn. "Do you remember what happened before you fainted?" Only then did Shen Xianglin realize what had happened before. He suddenly felt a wave of lingering fear. "I don't know. I was no different from usual, but when I walked to the inn, my vision suddenly turned black, and I don't remember anything after that." "Then who did you meet? Or did something else happen?" "No." Shen Xianglin shook his head. "I stayed at home yesterday and didn't go anywhere else. I only went to the inn at night when I was a little hungry." "That's strange." The shopkeeper's face suddenly became very ugly. After noticing Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xingxing's confusion, he said, "All these years, the main reason why we haven't been able to find the culprit is because of this. Almost every time, we can't figure out how the culprit poisoned us, and we have never been able to solve it. Then this place of yours is quite scary. It's very likely that you'll die without knowing why." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. This small town looked calm on the surface, but in fact, it was turbulent. It was obvious that the culprit was a master. "Have you offended anyone recently?" The shopkeeper couldn't help but ask. The culprit wouldn't poison them for no reason, but they had always been dutiful, and yet the culprit wanted to kill them. Shen Xianglin pondered for a long time, and finally shook his head helplessly. "I've been acting like usual recently, and I haven't offended anyone. I don't understand why this kind of thing would happen to me. There must be a reason, but we haven't figured it out yet," Shen Xuxing said thoughtfully. "If every poisoning is related to the culprit, then we should be able to identify the culprit if we connect all the incidents together," Bewitching said. "We thought so too, but in fact, even when we connected all the incidents together, we didn't find anything in common." The shopkeeper shook his head helplessly. It's because we couldn't figure out the problem, so gradually everyone stopped thinking about it. However, usually when something like this happens, the poisoned person will definitely die. This time, Xianglin is still alive. I'm afraid everyone will be very surprised. Shin Su Xing said slowly. His eyes suddenly changed. If that's the case, won't you be in danger? As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the shopkeeper and the other two became abnormally ugly. Bewitching was killed because of helping them, then they would have to bear the blame. Seeing how nervous the three of them were, Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand slightly. Don't worry, I'm a doctor myself. It won't be easy for them to poison me. Other things aside, she was full of confidence in this aspect. Miss Bailey, you must be careful. Why don't you move back to the inn for a while? That way, we can take care of you for free. No need. We'll be fine. Don't worry. Seeing that Bewitching had made up his mind, the shopkeeper didn't continue to insist. However, he couldn't help but worry. How's Xianglin doing now? Chapter 7101. I don't know who shopkeeper Shin's family offended. This time, Xianglin was poisoned. I'm afraid he won't be able to keep his life. I've seen them enter the Immortal Treasure Pavilion and never come out. Perhaps they've already cured him. I've heard that Lady Bailey's medical skills are very exquisite. You're all too naive. That's impossible. Do you think it's because shopkeeper Shin's relationship with the Immortal Treasure Pavilion that he was poisoned? The crowd discussed animatedly. Not a single one of them did not sympathize with shopkeeper Shin. It was undoubtedly the most painful thing for a white-haired person to send off a black-haired person. However, when it was close to noon, shopkeeper Shin and Shin Shuxing supported Shin Xianglin as they walked out together. The people in the small town were all dumbfounded. Heavens, am I seeing things? Bailey Hongzhuang really cured Shin Xianglin? Doesn't this mean that her medical skills are better than Dr. Yang's? The crowd's expressions suddenly became very interesting. Everyone believed that Bailey Hongzhuang's pill refining skills were not bad, but they never thought that her medical skills were also so outstanding. This is great. If something like this happens again in the future, we won't have to wait for death. It was unknown who spoke first, but everyone's eyes suddenly brightened. Poisoning. This matter had always been like a layer of shadow hanging over everyone's hearts. Every time they thought about it, they couldn't help but be alarmed. However, now that there was a doctor who could solve it, everything became much simpler. We have to think of a way to make Lady Bailey stay. In the room, Bewitching looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. What do you think? We don't know what happened in the past, so we can't judge. However, I feel that it's not just one person who did this kind of thing. Bewitching raised his eyebrows. Perhaps in the beginning, someone poisoned someone to avenge a personal grudge, causing the effect of panic. Later on, someone imitated this method and put the blame on the first person. It is precisely because there is more than one person that everyone is unable to make a judgment. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. This was the biggest possibility she could think of, and it was the only way to explain everything. It's undeniable that there must be a person involved in all these events, Bewitching said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Now that I think about it, this person is indeed quite scary. Do you have anyone in mind? Actually, I'm quite curious about Dr. Yang here. He's a doctor himself, and his medical skills are quite outstanding. The others here don't know anything about medicine. If he were to do it, the success rate would be very high. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. He is indeed very suspicious, but he has always been safe. Even if it is really him, he must have used other methods to clear everyone's suspicion of him. Bailey Hongzhuang leaned casually on the reclining chair. Actually, this matter has nothing to do with us. The other party can't threaten us. If he really doesn't have eyes and wants to make a move on us, we'll just take care of him. If he doesn't have any intention of being hostile to us, then we'll mind our own business. She never liked to meddle in other people's business unless something provoked them. Chapter 7102. They had always wanted to find an opportunity to gain shopkeeper Shin's trust. Initially, there was only a glimmer of hope. After this incident, Shopkeeper Shen would not hold back too much from them. This was undoubtedly good news. Once Xin Xianglin's condition improves, we can go and ask around. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. They had been here for so long. Finally, there was progress. On this day, when Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao He walked out of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, the scene along the way was different. Miss Bailey, you're out for a walk. Young Master D, where do you plan to go? We have a gathering tonight. Do you want to come and have a meal together? Almost everyone they met on the way greeted them warmly. It was as if they were natives of the town. There was no rejection or estrangement at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. It had only been a day. What was wrong with the people in the town? Why do I feel like they're suddenly so friendly? Why do I feel like there's a conspiracy? Xiao Hei's face was full of suspicion. As the saying goes, one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and praised, "Not bad. You even know how to use these flexibly now." I feel like something is wrong too. Xiao Bai nodded. But I can't figure out why. Di Beichen smiled faintly. You'll understand in a while. Shen family in. Young Master D, you're here. Shen Shuxing's face revealed a happy smile. He quickly invited the two of them in. You haven't eaten yet, right? Let's see what you want to eat. Di Beichen casually ordered a few dishes. At the same time, other people in the inn greeted them with smiles on their faces. They were so familiar with each other that they were like good brothers. In fact, the two of them did not even know who these people were. Shuxing, sit with us. Di Beichen waved his hand. Shopkeeper Shen nodded. Shuxing, you should all gather together. You're not busy now anyway. After Shun Su Xing sat down, he smiled and said, Did you notice that everyone's behavior is very strange? Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. They do change their attitude very quickly. Shen Shuxing couldn't help but laugh. I actually admire them. They aren't embarrassed at all. Actually, the reason is quite simple. It's because Miss Bailey cured Xiangling. No one knows if this kind of thing will happen to them in the future, so they do their best to build a good relationship with you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen didn't look too surprised. Previously, they had already guessed this kind of trap, but the people in this small town were too tacit. These guys are really cunning. Xiao He was secretly speechless. After all this fuss, it turned out that this was the truth. This is a good thing, Bailey Hongzhuang patted Xiao Hei's head. This means that everyone is willing to accept us. Shen Shuxing nodded. That's right. You're really amazing. You've been welcomed by everyone so quickly. By the way, Shopkeeper Shen said that he would talk to them about the spirit-devouring stone tonight. However, this matter has to be kept a secret, Shen Shuxing said through voice transmission. Di Beichen and Xiao Hei's eyes lit up. As expected, Shopkeeper Shen was returning the favor. We understand. Night gradually enveloped the land. The entire town was covered in a layer of darkness. Chapter 7103. Mr. D, since we're already here, let's get straight to the point. Shopkeeper Shen looked at the two of them and said, My secret room is very well hidden. Apart from the Shen family, no one else knows about its existence. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Shopkeeper Shen had already shown his sincerity by bringing them here. Do you want to do business with me with the soul-devouring stones? Shopkeeper Shen asked. If that's the case, I can work with you. Shopkeeper Shen, since you're so honest, we won't hide it from you anymore. Di Beichen's face was calm, his eyes like the sea twinkling with a star-like luster. Actually, we're not concerned about the soul-devouring stones. Shopkeeper Shen was stunned. This was out of his expectations. We want to know how you got the soul-devouring stones. Shopkeeper Shen's face stiffened when he heard this. He was afraid. Mr. D, I'll remember how you saved Xiangling's life. I'll try my best to do whatever I can. However, I can't tell you this. Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised by Shopkeeper Shen's attitude. It was within their expectations. We know that the soul-devouring stones came from the crossing immortal domain even if you don't tell us. Di Beichen went straight to the point. Shopkeeper Shen's face changed and a fierce look flashed across his face. Why you here? We don't mean any harm. You don't have to be so nervous. Bailey Hongzhuang stepped forward and said, Actually, we're here to find a way to enter the crossing immortal domain. Are you crazy? Shopkeeper Shen looked as if he had heard something unbelievable. He was stunned for a moment. Everyone knows what's going on in the crossing immortal domain. No one in the chaotic immortal domain is willing to go there. We're here to find our family. Bailey Hongzhuang told Shopkeeper Shen about their troubles. Of course, all of this was just a cover that they came up with. However, it was undeniable that they were worried about their family's future. The wariness in Shopkeeper Shen's eyes slowly disappeared. After understanding everything, his attitude was no longer as tough as before. So that's how it is. You guys are really affectionate and loyal. For many people, their own lives were the most important. Everything else could be cut off at will. In comparison, the two of them were truly loyal and loyal. Shopkeeper, we would like to ask for your help. How can we let them in? You're right. Our spirit-devouring stone did come from the crossing immortal domain, but the process was quite dangerous. Most importantly, this matter was handled by the Lu family. Only Lu Jin knows the details. After the shopkeeper's explanation, they finally understood that they had obtained the spirit-devouring stone by crossing the heavenly moat. This process was extremely dangerous and could only be done once a year. Every family in their town had to pay something for this trip, whether it was blood spirit stones, runes, magic treasures, or something else. In the end, the most powerful few would set off to cross the natural moat. Among them, the Lu family was a core member. Shopkeeper Shen had never been to the heavenly moat, so he was not very clear about this. Thank you, shopkeeper. Bewitching cupped his hands. This was a great help to them. Chapter 7104. Noticing Bewitching's expression, the shopkeeper could not help but say, Don't tell me you're planning to try it yourselves? That's definitely not possible. But we've been in contact with the crossing immortal domain for many years. They know that there's a path with the least danger. The heavenly moat is filled with danger. Not to mention radiant sun realm cultivators, even elementary immortal realm cultivators would have a 90% chance of survival. It's precisely because they know the path that they've been in contact with the crossing immortal domain until now. Some people have tried it before, but none of them survived. The shopkeeper's expression was serious. Don't be stupid. Speaking of this, the shopkeeper could not help but laugh. You're very stupid to want to enter the crossing immortal domain. But since it's to save someone, you have to protect your own lives first. Thank you for your advice, shopkeeper. We'll think of a plan before taking action. Now that the people in town have begun to accept you, if you can cure Lu Qiu's illness, I believe Lu Jin will be willing to bring you along. The shopkeeper suggested. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were slightly heavy. Their previous judgment was not wrong. Lu Jin was the one who was very clear about this matter. Lu Jin is not an easy person to deal with. Look at him. He's not even interested in alchemy. You can see how stubborn he is. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. Lu Qiu is his son. He won't sit by and watch his son die. Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching lay on the bed and looked at the wooden plank above them. Their eyes were filled with thoughts. Lu Jin's temper is so strange. If we act on our own, he might be even more resistant. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. We can only cast a long line to catch a big fish. Lu Qiu is already sick. They won't be able to bear it for long. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. An idea suddenly appeared in her mind. I've thought of a good idea. It should be able to shorten the waiting time. But Lu Qiu will have to suffer a little. Bewitching turned his head. What idea? The reason why Lu Jin is able to remain calm is because Lu Qiu's condition isn't too serious yet. If it becomes serious, then he definitely won't be able to sit still. So, as long as I think of a way to speed up his recovery. You don't know much about him. Are you sure you can do it? Don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang was full of confidence. I'm almost certain that he was also poisoned. There are some herbs that have a catalytic effect. Bewitching pecked the woman's mouth. My wife is the best. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Of course. The night is long. Let's not think about other people. Let's think about our own things. Bewitching flipped over and got on. The Lu family. Father, you've always said that Bailey Hongzhuang is unreliable. Look, Xin Xianglin was cured by her. It can be seen that her medical skills are outstanding. Why don't I give it a try too? Maybe my condition can be cured too. Lu Qiu looked at Lu Jin expectantly. Ever since he found out about this matter, he could no longer suppress his inner thoughts. No one wanted to die. Even if he had accepted this result in despair, when this glimmer of hope appeared, his desire to live was incited. He hated that he couldn't immediately walk into the immortal treasure pavilion. Chapter 7105. Lu Jin's expression did not change. His voice was still cold and resolute. So many people saw it. How could it be fake? Shopkeeper Shen and the others were very close to these two outsiders. This time, it just had to happen to Xin Xianglin. Maybe the whole thing is part of their scheme to lure us in. After hearing his father's analysis, Lu Qiu gasped in amazement. Father, you're too imaginative. Although shopkeeper Shen was the first to know them, he wouldn't put Xin Xianglin in danger for them, right? Didn't you hear what everyone said? Dr. Yang is helpless against this poison. These two people came from the outside world. It's not surprising that they have some powerful poison on them. Seeing that Lu Jin was not moved, Lu Qiu could not help but shake his head. He thought that after this incident, Lu Jin's thoughts would change. He did not expect the situation to be the complete opposite. It was another night. Bailey Hongzhuang handed the packet of powder to Xiaobai. You just need to put this in the Lu family's potted plant. Mistress, this kind of small matter can be done quickly. Don't worry. I naturally trust your abilities. However, this Lu Jin is not simple. You should be careful. Yes. Watching the backs of the two demon beasts leave, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the crescent moon in the sky. The cold moonlight shone down, bringing with it a hazy brilliance. This Lu Jin might be hiding his true colors. Bewitching's voice gradually rang out. In the past 2 days, he had carefully thought over the shopkeeper's words. Since Heaven's Moat was a place that even elementary immortal cultivators had a hard time traversing, it was simply too difficult for a few Radiant Sun cultivators to traverse it. When he thought of Lu Jin's attitude towards the immortal pill, he faintly guessed that perhaps Lu Jin had already broken through to the elementary immortal stage. That was why he was so calm. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood what he meant. What you said is not impossible. If that's really the case, then he's hidden very deeply. If that's really the case, then an expert like him can do whatever he wants in the Radiant Sun realm. Why would he stay here? I don't know, but there must be a reason for him to stay here. We just don't know what it is. Will Xiao He and Xiao Bai be in danger? Let's go take a look. Bewitching pulled Bailey Hongzhuang out of the courtyard and walked towards the Lu family. If Lu Jin was really a cultivator in the elementary immortal realm, they might be able to find out tonight. Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately rolled into the Lu family's residence. After noticing that there was no movement, they quietly sprinkled the medicinal powder into the potted plant. This kind of thing is really too simple for us. After it was settled, Xiao He and Xiao Bai high-fived each other and happily left the Lu residence. However, as soon as they came out, the two little fellows also noticed Bewitching and his companion. They couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Master, why are you here? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the calm Lu family and said, It seems that our guess was wrong. Lu Jin, aren't you going to drink more? A loud voice rang out from behind. Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and realized that the person who spoke was Su Shun, who had just broken through to the elementary immortal stage. Chapter 7106. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled helplessly. It seems that we didn't test him at the right time. Su Shen, I've already drunk a lot. Let's drink another day. Lu Jin obviously didn't want to continue drinking. He waved his hand and walked back to the Lu family. What a bummer. We were drinking and now you want to go back. You're really strange. Su Shen waved his hand disappointedly and said with disdain, You'll have to treat me next time. Lu Jin quickened his pace and quickly rushed in the direction of Bailey Hongzhuang. Maybe we've achieved our goal. Bewitching raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of self-evident understanding between his brows. I didn't expect this town to be so full of hidden talents. All of this can be explained. Bailey Hongzhuang understood. She had always felt that Lu Jin's attitude was very strange. Now that she knew that Lu Jin was an expert in the elementary celestial stage, she understood. A poison that even an expert in the elementary celestial stage can't cure. It seems that this poison is really tricky. She didn't believe in curses, and she believed that Lu Jin wouldn't believe in such nonsense. However, Lu Qiu was already in such a situation, but he still maintained such an attitude. It proved that he had already determined that this poison was impossible to cure. In this way, all of his attitude could be explained. After Lu Jin returned home, he looked around the courtyard. After finding that there was nothing unusual inside, his face became very gloomy. Since you're already here, why do you need to hide? Looking at the crescent moon in the sky, Lu Jin's face was indescribably cold. I didn't expect you to be so secretive. Bewitching slowly walked out of the shadows. Looking at the handsome young man in front of him, the moonlight shone on him, plating him with a layer of faint brilliance. He was like an immortal in the moon, indescribably elegant. Young Master D is really amazing. Your cultivation has reached this level at such a young age. It's my fault. A straightforward person does not resort to insinuations. Coming to my courtyard in the middle of the night is not the conduct of a gentleman. Lu Jin's expression darkened. What exactly do you want? I think you already know what's going on. Otherwise, you wouldn't have rushed back. Lu Jin sized up the fearless man in front of him, a trace of suspicion in his heart. Do you think you can defeat me? I only came here hoping that you could do me a favor. My original intention was not to stay here for long. As long as you are willing to help me, I will disappear from your sight as long as I achieve my goal. I will not interfere with your life. Why should I help you? What if we can cure Lu Qiu? Lu Jin chuckled. What an arrogant tone. What makes you think you can help me? Of course, I know that you must have used many methods, but you should also be able to guess that I am confident in saying such words at this time. Hearing this, Lu Jin's expression changed. His gaze was constantly sizing up Bewitching. He had to admit that if the other party was only a cultivator at the glorious sun stage, he would not even believe such shameless words. However, the other party was already at the elementary immortal stage at such a young age. His hidden strength was so strong that even he did not notice it before. It was clear that he had a certain level of ability. Chapter 7107. Lu Jin's feelings were extremely complicated. Bewitching's cultivation was beyond his expectations. He had been keeping his distance earlier because he felt that the two of them were strange. However, it was obvious that the two of them had more trump cards than he had imagined. Bewitching was the only one in front of him. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was still a mystery. He could not be sure if she was also an expert in the elementary immortal realm. Bewitching noticed Lu Jin's expression and knew that he was not really tempted. He just wanted to find out more about them. However, this conversation was going to happen sooner or later. He did not mind saying it first. We need to enter the crossing immortal domain. Lu Jin frowned but did not speak immediately. The person we're looking for is in the crossing immortal domain, so we have to enter. As long as you help us enter, we'll help you cure Lu Qiu. Bewitching raised his eyebrows slightly. Lu Jin was the first person who did not immediately refute them. Even if you can cure Qiu, he's just one person. Once you tell others about this, the entire town might cease to exist. Why do you think I'll agree? We can make an oath, Bewitching said. Lu Jin was slightly startled. Swearing an oath was very useful for cultivators. They had already become immortals. The fact that the other party was willing to make an oath proved that his words were trustworthy. I need to think about it. Your son's illness can't wait for too long. We're willing to discuss it with you on an equal footing. We hope that this matter can be done quietly. However, this doesn't mean that I don't have other methods. Bewitching glanced at Lu Jin indifferently. The latter immediately felt as if a knife was scraping his body. He felt cold all over. You have 3 days to think about it. In the next moment, Bewitching's figure disappeared from the courtyard as if he had never appeared. That night, Lu Jin stood in the courtyard for a long time. He only returned to the house when the sky gradually brightened. On the third day, Xiao Hei paced back and forth in the house. It's already the last day, and Lu Jin still hasn't appeared. Could it be that he didn't agree? This old fellow won't take the opportunity to run away with his entire family, right? Why don't I keep an eye on them? Xiao Bai said worriedly. Bailey Hongzhuang reached out and pulled the two little fellows onto the table. Lu Jin is an elementary immortal expert. Even if he doesn't agree, he shouldn't be so spineless. When night fell and Bailey Hongzhuang was about to close the door, a hand suddenly pressed against the door. She opened the door and found that Lu Jin was already standing outside. I'm here to give you an answer. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Please come in. Inside the room, Bailey Hongzhuang brought in 2 cups of tea. Thank you. Lu Jin took a sip of tea and went straight to the point. Apart from your conditions, I have another request. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang raised their eyebrows slightly and did not answer. As long as you agree to my request, I'll help you enter the crossing immortal domain. Tell me. I want to know who the person who attacked my Lu clan is. You should know better than anyone about this, right? We know nothing about your family. It won't be easy to find the culprit, Bailey Hongzhuang said calmly. Chapter 7108. I can try. Lu Jin's eyes lit up. But I can't guarantee that I'll be able to find the murderer. If this person isn't from this town or there are other possibilities, you don't think that will help you find the murderer all over the world, do you? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression revealed a kind of indifferent alienation. They were only discussing a deal. She didn't want the other party to take a mile after taking an inch. Lu Jin nodded slightly. I understand, as long as you can tell me the situation of this poison and give me some clues. As for the rest, I'll take care of it myself. When Lu Qiu saw his father and Bailey Hongzhuang talking and laughing as they walked over, he couldn't help but rub his eyes, wondering if he had lost his mind and was hallucinating. Stop rubbing, it's embarrassing, Lu Jin said disdainfully. Feeling this familiar tone, Lu Qiu finally believed that he wasn't dreaming and immediately stood up excitedly. Father, did your head get squeezed by the door today? Lu Jin's face darkened. Haven't you always been hoping to get Miss Bailey to treat your illness? If you don't want to, then forget it. Hey father. Lu Qiu hurried over. I want to see it, I definitely want to see it. Miss Bailey, can you help me see if my illness can be cured? Although Lu Qiu's words were simple, it seemed like he didn't care about all this at all, but his slightly heavier than usual panting revealed his inner nervousness. This was already his last hope. If it still failed, then it would be completely hopeless. After Bailey Hongzhuang carefully took Lu Qiu's pulse, she found that the situation was indeed unusual. Compared to Xin Xianglin's poison, this poison was undoubtedly much more complicated. Almost immediately, she was sure that the person who poisoned Lu Qiu and Xin Xianglin were not the same person. If it was the same person, even if the hatred between the two people was different, the difference in the poison wouldn't be so big. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang fall into silence after taking his pulse, Lu Qiu's heart sank bit by bit. Ever since this incident happened to their family, they had gone to visit many godly doctors, but in the end, they had all returned empty-handed. Miss Bailey, is there no cure for my illness? Lu Qiu couldn't help but ask. He forced a smile and said, It's okay. Actually, I'm already mentally prepared. Lu Jin was also very nervous. He thought about it for 3 days before agreeing. He really didn't want to see his son fall like this. That was a pain he couldn't bear. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. After a long while, she said, If I'm not wrong, this should be a type of goo poison. The moment these words were spoken, Lu Qiu and the other person could not help but be stunned. Goo poison? Not bad. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I've dabbled in goo poison to a certain extent. Your poison is the most similar to goo poison. In that case, someone planted goo in our family? Lu Jin's expression became very ugly. Goo poison was much more difficult to treat than ordinary poison. Ordinary people were most unwilling to be contaminated with goo poison. He did not expect that it would appear in their bodies. I need some time to study it carefully. Don't be impatient. Chapter 7109. I still have some confidence. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I will do my best to cure you. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's serious expression, Lu Qiu's lips curled into a smile. Thank you. Bailey Hongzhuang took some of the poisoned blood and carefully understood Lu Qiu's symptoms. Then she began to study it. She had dabbled in goo poison in the past and had a certain understanding of it when she followed Granny Hua. However, Granny Hua focused more on guiding her in other areas. Although she had mentioned goo poison, she was not as proficient in other areas. Fortunately, she still had some books that Granny Hua left for her in her chaos ring. Perhaps she could find some clues from them. Young Master D, is Miss Bailey really confident? Lu Jin looked in the direction that Bailey Hongzhuang left and asked. Bewitching nodded slightly. If there is really no cure, she will not waste her time. Lu Jin was relieved. Bailey Hongzhuang did not give up. At least, it meant that they still had a glimmer of hope. Think about it carefully. Who could do such a thing? Bewitching looked at Lu Jin. Using goo poison required some skills. There were not many people who were good at goo poison. If there was such a person among their friends, they would be able to lock onto the target. I will confirm it carefully. However, this news must not be told to anyone to avoid alerting the enemy. Lu Jin reminded. Don't worry. We still have to find a way to help you find the person who poisoned you. Ever since returning to Immortal Treasure Pavilion, Bailey Hongzhuang found a book about goo poison from the medical books that Granny Hua gave her. She quickly read through the contents. She did not like to raise goo poison usually. She only felt that it was very troublesome. However, when she thought about the people in the town, she really could not think of anyone who was good at it. This person must have never told anyone that he was good at goo poison. He has always been very secretive in order to use it as a trump card. Xiao He was secretly speechless. I did not expect the people here to be so scary. They have so many tricks up their sleeves. It is really frightening. Indeed. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I think there are only a few targets. As long as we can detoxify the poison, it won't be difficult to lure the snake out of its hole. Master, are you sure which type of goo poison it is? It should be the heart-devouring goo. The goo worms here are much more powerful than the ones we encountered before. The cultivators in the chaotic immortal realm have very pure origin energy. The goo worms fed with this kind of origin energy are extremely powerful. I need to think of a way to force them out of my body. Although there were related records in the books, this kind of thing couldn't be understood just by reading it. She had to start from the basics. Every type of goo worm had different characteristics, and after staying in a person's body for a long time, there would be some changes. She had to understand everything clearly before she could make a move. Otherwise, if something were to happen, it would be too early. I think that Lu Qiu's condition has been all right recently. There shouldn't be any problems for the time being. There's still time. Xiao He comforted. Bailey Hongzhuang was engrossed in reading the medical book. From time to time, she would write something down. Through this inspection, they could determine the true situation of the goo worms. Chapter 7110. In this environment where no one disturbed her, Bailey Hongzhuang's understanding of the goo poison continued to improve. In the beginning, there were only some vague directions, but gradually, she began to research how to force the goo out without affecting Lu Qiu. However, this peace was suddenly broken one day. Miss Bailey Qiu is dying. Lu Jin ran to Immortal Treasure Pavilion in a panic. His usually cold face was now filled with anxiety. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with panic and pain. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned. According to her observation, Lu Qiu's goo poison could last for at least a year. Although she had asked Xiao He and Xiao Bai to put medicinal powder in their house, she had resolved the catalytic effect of the medicinal powder after they cooperated. Logically speaking, such a situation should not have happened. I don't know. It suddenly became like this. Let's go and take a look. The three of them quickly rushed to the Lu family. Along the way, Lu Jin also talked about the recent situation. Previously, the situation of the people in our family before they died was very similar to Kyu's situation. However, they took longer to act up than Kyu. I don't understand why he acted up so early. You must find a way to save him first. As long as you can save him, I will do my best to help you complete your wish. Don't worry too much. I've already thought of a way. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were serious. During this period, she had a comprehensive understanding of Lu Kyu's goo poison. Originally, she had planned to try to force the goo out in a few days. However, she did not expect such a situation to occur today. When they arrived, they found Lu Kyu's body twitching. Blood was flowing out of his nose and he looked to be in extreme pain. "Father, save me. Save me." Lu Kyu screamed in pain. He lay on the bed and kicked the blanket with his feet. His expression was ferocious and terrifying. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately knew how terrible the situation was. The insect queen had already directed the child insects to take Lu Kyu's life. If they did not stop it immediately, then Lu Kyu would die without a doubt. She reached out and grabbed Lu Kyu's arm. Through feeling his pulse, she found an unusual fluctuation near Lu Kyu's heart and immediately understood. That was where the child insects were. "Young Master Lu, why don't you ask this?" Bailey Hongzhuang took out a sachet and placed it in front of Lu Kyu's nose. This was the medicine she had prepared a few days ago. It could temporarily calm the child worms. The smell wasn't pleasant and was even a little pungent. Lu Kyu couldn't help but frown. However, when he smelled the scent, he was surprised to find that the pain in his body was not as intense as before. He immediately snatched the sachet and sniffed it desperately. "Take off his shirt," Bailey Hongzhuang instructed and took out the needle bag. Lu Jin had already unbuttoned Lu Kyu's clothes. Numerous silver needles circled around Lu Kyu's heart and pierced into the corresponding acupoints. The silver needles, which contained pure energy, trembled unceasingly, exuding a pure power. Chapter 7140. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. There was a problem with the goo poison. Unknowingly, Lu Kyu had fallen into a deep sleep. Bailey Hongzhuang made a cut on his finger and took out a fresh animal organ. "What are you going to do?" Lu Jin looked at Bailey Hongzhuang doubtfully, his eyes full of confusion. "Think of a way to lure this goo worm out." Bailey Hongzhuang said, "I have already studied it. This goo worm's level is not low. If you want to kill it directly in your body, I am afraid Master Lu will not be able to save his own life." "But this can lure the goo worm out?" Lu Jin did not believe it. If it was so simple, then goo worms would not be so scary. "Of course, that's not all. I added something to this animal's internal organs. It should be its favorite taste." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Every kind of goo worm had its own favorite smell. Smell was the way to attract goo worms. "I wanted to feel pain in Master Lu's body. Coupled with the temptation from the outside, there is a chance of success. Now, the queen worm's order is for it to devour this heart, but it may not know which heart it is." "I see." Lu Jin suddenly understood, but he really didn't understand this aspect. But looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's solemn vow, he felt a bit more confident. "Please, you have to save him." At the same time, in another place, a woman looked at the queen worm in front of her with a complicated expression. "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" Just now, it was about to succeed. But for some reason, the child worm seemed to have stopped for a moment, as if it had fallen into a deep sleep. "How is this possible? This has never happened before." "I don't know either." "Could it be that they have found a way to deal with it?" "Impossible. My goo poison has never made a mistake. In this place, no one can compare to me." This Bailey Hongzhuang who recently came is a little strange. I heard that she had plans to treat Lu Kyu before, but Lu Jin rejected her. Maybe this old guy has thought it through recently. That girl's alchemy skills are not bad, but alchemy is different from goo poison. Even if she cured Shen Xianglin, she definitely can't cure Lu Kyu. The woman's lips curled up slightly. "Look, The child worm is reacting again. That's good. The man sighed in relief and smiled proudly. It's time to destroy the Lu family. Once Lu Qiu is dead, it will be Lu Jin's turn. Not long after, a satisfied smile appeared on the woman's face. Lu Qiu is dead. Huh, that's great. A smile appeared on the man's face. Lu Jin must be heartbroken now. You should be more careful these days. Don't reveal any flaws. Lu Jin's strength is not simple. Don't worry. He won't think of it. The man was full of confidence. Lu family inside the house. After Bailey Hongzhuang removed the silver needles from Lu Qiu's body one by one, she wiped the sweat off her forehead and sighed in relief. This is the goo worm? Lu Jin looked at the glass cup in his hand. There was a very small black worm in it. Previously, he saw this worm gradually crawl out of Lu Qiu's finger. In the end, it completely ate the animal's internal organs. Its speed shocked him. End of chapter. Chapter 7147. Alright, I promise you. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. That's right, this is the child worm of the goo worm. The mother worm is in the hands of the person who poisoned you. This child worm has been in Sir Lu's body for a long time. The other party must be trying to create a curse. That's why they dragged it out for so long. That means the rest of our family died in the hands of this worm? Lu Jin's expression turned extremely ugly. He had thought of many ways to deal with this situation after it had happened. He naturally did not believe what others said about curses, but as he could not find the cause, he vaguely felt that this might be the case. At this moment, he finally understood the truth. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Lu Jin and said, "This person has a deep grudge with you, and using such a method, he might be more familiar with you. If it was an ordinary grudge, the other party could have just poisoned them to death, but they had to spend so much effort. Their motive was undoubtedly to prevent this matter from implicating them." Lu Jin's eyes dimmed. A gloomy look appeared on his face. "Using this child worm, can you find the mother worm? If you can help me find the other party, I will do my best to help you." Lu Jin's expression was serious. His eyes shone with hatred. His entire family had died in the hands of this goo worm. The other party's intention was to exterminate his entire family. If he did not take revenge, how could he face his family in the underworld? "You want to enter crossing immortal domain? I will help you." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows. As expected, Lu Jin had a way. "Alright, I promise you." Lu Jin heaved a sigh of relief. Although he already had a few suspects, the other party had concealed this matter so well, it would not be easy to find them. He wanted to find the real culprit. If he alerted the other party, it would be more troublesome. Bewitching smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Are you confident? There is a connection between the mother insect and the child insect. However, if the other party is a careful person, she may directly erase all of this." Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly, "There's another possibility. This kind of thing has happened in your family several times. Perhaps the other party is very arrogant. It takes a lot of effort to cultivate this kind of goo worm. If Osher can take it back, he should be willing to do so." Lu Jin was confused. "Then what should we do now? Should we follow this insect back?" Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "What we need to do now is wait. Wait. I think she will recall the child worms. Otherwise, the child worms would be dead by now." A confident smile appeared on her exquisite face. Instantly, her radiance shot out in all directions. Even in the middle of the night, her eyes were still bright and dazzling. Lu Jin didn't say anything, but he believed in the ability of the young woman in front of him. "Thank you, Mrs. D." Hearing this different form of address, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows and looked at Bewitching. Bewitching smiled faintly. "I told him that we are already married. If he keeps calling you miss, it will be easy for others to take advantage of him." Bailey Hongzhuang laughed lightly. Her eyes were full of smiles. She didn't hear this form of address often. "Don't tell anyone that we are here," Bailey Hongzhuang reminded Lu Jin. "Otherwise, the other party might be on guard." End of chapter. Chapter 7148. Revenge for the extermination of his family. "I understand." Lu Jin nodded deeply. The night had enveloped him in a ball of darkness, as if he had sunk into boundless darkness. Only when he raised his head to look at the unconscious Lu Qiu, a trace of hope flashed in his eyes, illuminating his desolate heart. When will Qiu wake up? Once the worm comes out, will he be fine? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at the pale man on the bed and shook her head. He will wake up tomorrow. The worm has been in his body for a long time. His body is lacking a lot. Now that it suddenly came out, his condition will be even worse. He will need to recuperate for a period of time before he will gradually recover. Lu Jin heaved a sigh of relief. Even if he had to spend a little more time, it was fine. As long as he was still alive, it was fine. Make more supplements for him, he will recover faster. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I can write a list for you. Thank you very much. Taking advantage of the dark night, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen brought Lu Qiu to Immortal Treasure Pavilion. However, Lu Jin stayed at home and stared at the worm. They decided not to spread the news that Lu Qiu was still alive. This way, they would be able to find the culprit faster. The next day, when Lu Qiu woke up, he felt that his body was extremely weak and he was unable to sit up. What happened to me? Lu Qiu was a little confused. This was not his house at all. Di Beichen walked over. You are awake. Young Master Di? Lu Qiu looked at the house and then looked at Di Beichen. Only then did he remember what happened yesterday. I am still alive? Don't worry, you are very lucky. You won't die. Bailey Hongzhuang walked in. Lu Qiu was overjoyed. Really? I won't die? The goo poison has been cured. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and passed a bowl of medicinal porridge over. You are very weak now. Rest more. Where's my father? I was clearly at home earlier. How did I wake up here? Your father is investigating the real culprit. Lu Qiu's expression changed, and he immediately wanted to get out of bed. I want to go too. Which bastard did this to us? Di Beichen stopped him with one hand and said, The news that you are still alive is a secret. If you go out, you will alert the enemy. Leave this matter to us. Lu Qiu was stunned for a moment, but he quickly understood the whole thing. However, there was still a trace of unwillingness between his brows. If I find him, I'll make sure he dies a horrible death. In the past, he had always thought that their family's feng shui was not good, or that it was bad luck brought about by what his father and the others had done. He did not expect that it was all man-made. This kind of anger almost burned his entire heart. This was simply a vengeance for the extermination of a sect. At night, Bailey Hongzhuang left Xiao He and Xiao Bai behind to take care of Lu Qiu before they went to the Lu family. As soon as they entered the house, they saw Lu Jin guarding the insect. It was as if he had not slept a wink the entire night. How is it? Lu Jin looked up and saw the two of them. He shook his head. There is no movement yet. Be patient. The other party knows that your strength is not ordinary. They will not take it back so quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang sat down at the side. This kind of situation was not strange at all. It's fine. Let's wait. Lu Jin's expression was calm, but the trace of scarlet hatred in his eyes was shocking to the eye. Now that the threat had been removed, it was no big deal to spend a little more time. End of chapter. Chapter 7149. For 3 days, the child worm did not move. It stayed in the box quietly, as if it was asleep. This goo worm isn't dead, right? Lu Jin looked at the motionless goo worm with worry in his eyes. If the goo worm was dead, it would be difficult to find the culprit. No. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head with a faint smile. It ate so many things earlier, its body is filled with energy, it is just resting now. Jiang Zhen invited me to his place for dinner tonight. He might be testing me. Lu Jin raised his head. His solemn expression was complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Jin raised their eyebrows. Lu Qiu's matter had not spread out yet. Others naturally did not know about it. The only person who knew what happened was the person who poisoned the goo worm. If someone mentioned it tonight, it would be much easier to find the culprit. Go and take a look, you should have some results. Bailey Hongzhuang said. Okay. Lu Jin looked at the sky. I should set off soon, the others have probably arrived already. Di Baichen looked at the goo worm in front of him, saying, "You waited until now to see if this goo worm will move?" Lu Jin nodded, "That's right. Go, we will watch over it." However, just as Lu Jin was about to set off, they suddenly discovered that the goo worm moved. Noticing this, everyone's expression changed. Lu Jin hurriedly followed the goo insect. When he realized that the goo insect was heading towards Jiang Zhen's residence, his expression turned ugly. Could it be the person who poisoned it is Jiang Zhen? Is he the only one there tonight? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Lu Jin shook his head. Su Shen and Yang Tianzhao will be there too. Yang Tianzhao? Di Baichen was puzzled. Dr. Yang? That's right. It seems that you are very close. Actually, it is always the four of us going to do Immortal Domain every time. Lu Jin didn't intend to hide it. Since he had decided to help Di Baichen and Wang Zhong enter, they would find out about this sooner or later. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen looked at each other, and their expressions became very strange. If that's the case, then the person who poisoned him might be one of the four. You go first. Leave the task of following the child insects to us. Be careful and don't leak any information. I understand. After Lu Jin left, Bailey Hongzhuang and Jiang Zhen followed the insect. The insect's speed was also very fast. It didn't take them long to reach Jiang Zhen's residence. Under the cover of the night, the two of them were dressed in black, so they were not eye-catching. However, it was not easy to keep an eye on this insect. One could only lock onto it through its aura. Otherwise, one would not be able to see it at night. Lu Jin, you are finally here. Jiang Zhen saw Lu Jin and showed a happy smile. Why isn't Qiu here? He went to the forest a few days ago and hasn't returned yet. I don't know where he went to play. Lu Jin waved his hand, his smile showing some helplessness. He is young, it is normal for him to go out and explore. You have to understand him. Jiang Zhen put his hand on Lu Jin's shoulder. Su Shen and Tianzhao are already here. Let's go in and have a drink. After Lu Jin entered, he realized that Su Shen's family was here. It was quite lively. Chapter 7150. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations Lu Jin. Hearing that Lu Qiu wasn't at home, Su couldn't help but ask, did he go out because he was traumatized? How dare you spout nonsense in front of your elders? Madame Su reprimanded. You were jealous of him in front of so many people. Do you think you're proud? Mother, I'm not, Su Shen smiled. Young people are hot-blooded. It's normal for them to be jealous. Why do you have to take it to heart? Back in the day we were like that too. Su Shen looked at Lu Jin. Am I right? That's right. Young people are hot-blooded after all. It's okay to quarrel. Don't take it to heart. Madame Su said with some pity. Qiu is also a cultivation genius. If it weren't for this curse, his strength would have improved by now. Yang Tianzhao couldn't help but ask, has there been any progress in Qiu's condition recently? Lu Jin shook his head. Madame Jiang also served the food and wine at this moment. After hearing this topic, she said, I believe that Qiu is blessed by the heavens. He will be fine. Bailey Hongzhuang and Su Shen stayed on the roof. When they noticed that there were so many people inside, a trace of helplessness appeared on their faces. The child worms were extremely small, and they couldn't directly follow them in. Once they made it clear, the other party could directly kill the child worms. In this way, they could only be sure that the person who poisoned them was one of the three families, but they couldn't be sure who did it. I'm afraid these guys don't see eye to eye. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. It was troublesome to make friends with these kinds of people. I wonder if Lu Jin will be able to find out the result? Di Baichen frowned slightly. Now that he had locked onto these three families, the target was much smaller, but he still couldn't be sure who it was. I'm afraid it's a little difficult. These guys are probably gloating about Lu Qiu's illness. Even if they're testing him, I'm afraid they'll say the same thing. Di Baichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was beside him, and said, Madam Di, do you already have a way? Young Master Di, you're right. Let's go back. We'll know the result soon. Bailey Hongzhuang pulled Di Baichen back with her. She had no interest in staying on the roof. Lu Jin only came out of Jiang Zhen's house in the middle of the night. Just a moment ago, he was still drunk, but in an instant, he regained his senses. His eyes were cold, without a trace of warmth. How is it? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen sat on a tree branch and looked down at Lu Jin. Lu Jin raised his head. They're very tight-lipped, so I can't be sure. The other party purposely chose this time when everyone was gathered, so they probably didn't want to be suspected. I don't think Jiang Zhen is responsible for this. Otherwise, it would be too deliberate. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Jin nodded slightly. They didn't answer immediately and listened to Lu Jin's analysis. Yang Tianzhao doesn't look like it either. I'm afraid his medical skills aren't at this level yet. He's best at ordinary poisons, not goo poison. Maybe he's been hiding it all along? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Maybe it's a kind of intuition. Lu Jin still insisted on his judgment. I think it's most likely Su Shen's family. Why? You said before that the goo poison in Qiu's body should only act up after some time. It's strange that it suddenly acted up this time. I think this situation might be related to Su Shen's breakthrough to the elementary immortal stage. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.